All right, let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, this is a team looking to move beyond what happened last Saturday. They're heading into a must-win matchup against Tennessee in terms of staying alive for the college football playoff, keeping their national championship dreams alive. I still believe in this Georgia team. I still believe the coaching staff. If they can put it together, I don't know if there's anyone better in the country. But even as we continue our focus down the stretch here in 2024, Kirby Smart and his staff are linked to a massive recruiting flip potentially for 2025 and beyond. Exciting news out of Athens. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, like I was saying, this Georgia Bulldogs team heading into an absolutely massive SEC matchup this weekend against the Volunteers. All eyes on that game. But when you talk about the long-term trajectory of any program, whether it's Georgia, whether it's anybody else, it always starts in the recruiting game. And based on some recent news that has kind of broke over the past few hours and days, it looks like Georgia is linked to making the biggest recruiting flip so far this entire cycle. Let's pull up this report courtesy of Bleacher Report. Five-star quarterback recruit Julian Lewis is expected to visit Georgia this Saturday as the number 11 Bulldogs take on number 6 Tennessee, according to On3's Jake Roos. Lewis reportedly committed to USC in August 2023, but has continued to visit other programs, including Georgia and Colorado. Currently playing for Carrollton High School in Georgia, Lewis is ranked as the number 5 quarterback and number 31 national recruit by 24/7 Sports composite rankings. All right, Lewis has been widely rumored based on that commitment to USC being maybe the loosest commitment in probably sports history. That commitment seems to be willing to waffle at any moment. More rumors, more momentum is building. It sounds like Georgia is in a really strong position here, especially with a good performance to secure the flip of Julian Lewis. I think there's a great chance they get it done. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Bulldogs fans, in the comment section below, keeping your season alive. That is the goal. Finding a way to get a win against Tennessee. Give us your prediction. Final score. Vols, Dogs. It's going to be a great one. But let us know in the comment section how you think the game's going to go. Put your prediction for the final score down there for all of us to see. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest news for Georgia?
Yeah, Nick, I think there's twofold here, like you said. First and foremost, to secure this commitment to save the season, you have to bounce back. And what way to bounce back from losing the game to Ole Miss than to come to an even better team in Tennessee and beat the brakes off of them like we've seen you do to some other teams this season. Mainly look at teams like Texas. They really laid the wood there. I think this is a team very capable of putting up a really big performance here. I think that is going to be paramount in flipping Julian Lewis, but also, like you said, saving the season going forward. And if you do that, I think that solves a lot of your woes. I think Carson Beck is very experienced. I think he's done a lot of really great things. But we saw this past weekend what can happen if you come up against a defense that can really give the quarterback a lot of trouble. Carson Beck, only 186 yards and 1 interception, not necessarily the highest level of quarterback play that you could ask for out of a player. Weren't able to score a whole bunch of points. And this is a Georgia team that unfortunately goes on to lose that game. You gotta have a great quarterback there if you go up against a defense that makes you rely on the quarterback position to score points. Carson Beck, he didn't get it done this weekend. I think a guy like Julian Lewis is the type of top tier prospect you can bring into a program like Georgia, develop him, and make this team even better going forward. Like you said, this is really, really good team right here. But I think this weekend, especially, we saw one flaw in this team, especially Carson Beck. If you limit him, if you have to put the whole game on his shoulders, there wasn't a lot that he could get done against this Ole Miss squad. It's an ugly game overall, but I just think that was one of the limiting factors. I think they come out, they get it done against Tennessee. They're able to secure the flip of Julian Lewis. Not only does this year look good if you beat Tennessee, but securing that commitment makes the rest of your coming years with a guy like that on your squad look even better.
Yeah, I think Georgia, obviously, they had the years, with Stetson Bennett, where people were looking at the quarterback position as well. It's a game manager with a good athlete and a good arm, you can get it done. The reality is Carson Beck, he has a lot of that Spencer Rattler feel to him, honestly, former quarterback at Oklahoma and South Carolina, where he'll have games and moments where he looks like a top 5 pick, and then he'll have debacles, right? We've seen too many debacles this season. I think long-term quarterback position, obviously looking forward beyond Beck, is a real issue concern for Kirby Smart, because like we've alluded to a number of times, Georgia's in this weird phase where they're trying to transition from short-term massive title run into building a long-term dynasty. Saban and Alabama managed it very well. How did he do that? He switched his emphasis from winning with defense entirely, which is crushing it in the recruiting game of quarterbacks. Obviously, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at guys like Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa are the great examples at the top of the list. Right now, Georgia needs to follow that same model. I think they are, and I think Lewis getting his commitment secured to Athens, I think is the first big step for continuing this run of Georgia dominance. And look, we talk about it all this time on this channel. Big time college football, which the SEC, obviously the new SEC with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, is essentially like the National Football League these days. You're not going to run the table and go undefeated anymore. It just ain't going to happen. There's too many good teams. Schedule's too tough. One loss is going to be really hard. However, getting through 2 losses is really commendable now, especially if you find your way into the SEC title game. I think Georgia comes out with a lot of momentum. I agree with you. I think they beat the brakes off of Tennessee. I think they come back with a vengeance. This is a program that bounced back in a big way after that Alabama defeat earlier this season. They continued momentum for about 4 or 5 games there until, unfortunately, what happened at Ole Miss. I think that was sort of a matchup issue, to be totally honest. Bad weather. Ole Miss front 7 really took it to the Georgia offensive line. Beck never got in the rhythm, right? Game kind of fell away with how they want to play strategically. I think was that sort of a matchup issue. I think the opposite holds true with Tennessee, with the way they like to spread things out with 4 wide receivers. They want to play things a little bit more grass basketball-ish, which is sort of the way Georgia actually, even though they're so big and strong, they love teams to play that way because it allows their defensive linemen to just dominate one-on-one matchups and get all of their great playmakers in space on defense. I think Georgia comes out with a field day. I think they shut down the Vols offense. To me, this looks like a 27-3 Georgia statement. Julian Lewis secures the commitment to the Bulldogs, and we head into the second half of the season with Georgia looking like a national contender for this year and for a solid future contender as well.